We begin by stitching color 1 onto tearaway stabilizer in our 4x4 hoop. And at the bottom right corner, it will have a little arrow that will show you the direction of stretch for your fabric. You need to use stretch fabric for these little hands. So I'm placing 2 layers of stretch fabric in the hoop to cover those placement stitches. You want it to completely cover that square box that was stitched. And again, that's 2 layers with the stretchy going horizontal the way the arrow showed you. And then stitch color 2, and that does these seams all the way around the hands. These are double stitched, and it's a very short stitch length. Very close together. So I'll speed this up so that you don't have to watch, but you can see the direction that it goes. You can see I'm using my purple thing. You can use any kind of pointer tool to smooth the fabric as it's stitching. Okay, so I've stitched out the hands. These are double stitched and they're a very tight little stitch there. And this is tearaway stabilizer, so it's best to leave it in the hoop so that you got the tension in the hoop, and then go ahead and pull the fingers down very slowly. You don't want to tear the stitches. If you notice that your stitches are loose, you may want to restitch your hands with a tighter tension on your machine. That's actually pretty important for this project. But you can see I've got a nice tight tension. I had my machine set around 4, I believe is what I'm using. A typical sewing machine stitch averages around a 5 tension, but machine embroidery will usually start around 2.8. Some machines start at 4. Just depends on your machine where it defaults to. So if you're noticing that your stitches are too loose, then you can go and bump that tension up and make it tighter. I know a lot of people are afraid to do that. But like I said, if you put it around 4, for this cotton jersey skin fabric, this is the stretch cotton jersey from A Child's Dream, and this is tearaway stabilizer, so a tension of 4 with your 40 weight embroidery thread should be fine. Actually, I may have not even used embroidery thread on these. Sometimes I cheat and use regular sewing thread because for this it works. I would never do that if I were doing you know, a satin stitch, like an embroidery cartoon picture type thing. But we're just doing seams here. Now there's a couple of threads on the back that you'll need to clip away. You just cut those short. The ends here, so the way that it's stitched is it started on one side. It started here, went to the edge, and then goes all the way around, comes here, goes back again, and then comes ends here. So right here at the ends where we're going to be turning this hand inside out, there's no knot, there's no broken thread there. It's up here, and there's none on this side. So that gives us a really strong seam when we're turning inside out. Just wanted to mention that so you know when we get to that. Okay, this is not the best tearaway stabilizer. I do have some that's better, but I always forget to use it. I'm saving it for a special occasion, I guess. You know, like when the Queen comes to watch me embroider. I don't know. Okay, that's done. There's a few little bits that I still need to get out, and you do need to get all the bits out of here. Once you have pulled the hands away from the hoop, it should take most of the stabilizer away, and then we have a few little extras. Okay, that came off pretty easily actually for this old tearaway. Like I said, a better tearaway comes off a lot easier. So I've used contrasting thread on this, but you would want to use a thread that matches. I'm just doing this so that you can see. Also, another thing to mention is when your thread matches your fabric too closely, it might be hard to see, but usually with embroidery thread, it's shiny enough you can see. Now we're going to cut these out, and we're going to cut very, very close to these seams, just around the outside. You need really sharp scissors. I'm actually going to cut them apart first. It's easier to work with one hand at a time. I'm going to cut off the excess. You can see how close I'm going to cut that. Just keep moving the bits out of the way. And I'm going to cut in real time so you can see This is a very fussy project. This is an advanced project because the cutting is very detailed and the turning inside out is also difficult. So I did list this on the product page as an advanced project. It's not hard to stitch on the embroidery machine. It's actually pretty simple. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to stitch these on a sewing machine like I used to do. The embroidery machine does the hard work for that, but you still have to do all of this fussy cutting. And in between the fingers is hard because there's not a lot of room, so you really have to know where your scissors are going. Get all the way, don't clip that stitch there, but get as close as you can. I'm just going to cut all of them apart like that. This is not the kind of project that you want to do quickly. It's not the kind of thing where you want to be distracted. It's very easy to cut into that seam line if you're not careful. Now, we need to make sure that we get all of the excess around the fingers, especially these corners here. Having a little bit extra here at the edge is okay, but we got to get those corners off. So I'm just going to clip those because that will make it harder to turn inside out. Normally I would speed through this, but on this one I think it's important that you see the speed that I'm going at so you don't miss anything and see exactly how you're going to do it. Okay, I think that one's good. Okay, this hand is cut out. And I'm going to do the other one. You want to cut it really close to that bottom line. You can see how close those stitches are together. You don't need to notch curves or anything like that. We've got such a scant seam allowance. There's no point in clipping curves because there's no seam allowance to clip. Okay, that should work. Just make sure we get those corners off of there. This time I'm doing it as I do each finger rather than waiting till the end. That part doesn't matter. You do whatever you want to do. Make sure you have very, very sharp scissors. You can do this with larger scissors, and I usually do. Just make sure that you know where those scissors are going so that you don't clip your seams. Okay, did I get everything? I think there's a little too much on that thumb. So you can kind of see the scale here of just how close we've cut those.